Welcome to Healthier, Happier Hour, our summer series. I'm Kiersten.
Yes, we're so pumped that you're here. And I am Carli, and we're here to help you feel better, connect in your relationships, and enjoy your summer. So let's go. So excited. I was just thinking about this. This is not related to our topic, but at the beginning of every episode, I find myself like doing spirit fingers. And I was like, why am I doing this?
What am I doing with my hands right now?
What am I doing? But we are cheering for you.
We are.
So maybe that's where it comes from. I don't know. Either way, we're cheering for you today as well. We are getting ready to wrap up our summer series, but we've been spending time over the course of the summer really digging into feeling better, different ways to do that, connecting your relationships. And we've kind of gone through several different relationships and we focused on one word a little bit. Kiersten, I'm going to ask you again. What's that one word?
See if you can answer it quicker than me. You guys ready? 1, 2, 3. Balance.
Oh my gosh, that was so fast. What a star student.
Oh,
No. Such a star student. And if you've missed any of them, go back and listen. Go find your favorite one. You've got plenty of time, in the next couple of weeks, finishing out the summer strong. But, I have kind of toyed around a little bit with like, okay, what relationship do I really want us to spend time on, for this other mini episode? And I've toyed around with some different ideas. We've talked about significant others. We've talked about kids in your life, whether they're your own or, family members or neighbors or something else. And we've talked about friendships. And there's so many other relationships that we have. There's community relationships, people in your church, people in your neighborhood, people that just live around you and do life with you on a day-to-day basis, people that you work with, right? That you bump into, you see on Zoom, if you're working remotely, people in the office, people wherever you're working that you have relationships with that are important to you. You might not have super deep relationships, but you still have relationships with them. And it's interesting because sometimes when those fade or change, you realize, those are more meaningful than what I thought. You've got extended family, right? You have aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, in-laws, potentially, like all kinds of different people in your life, I think. And then you have the relationship with yourself, right? And so I just was playing around with all these different ideas and like, man, how can we just pick one of these to really like lean into for this last episode? Like, where do we go? How do we wrap this up kind of thing? And even if we're not, how do we decide like what relationship to focus in on? And, whether that's today or a week from now, you're listening to this, I really just want you to think about the relationships in your life, all the ones that we just listed off. And there's probably even some, that I forgot about. But all the relationships that I just listed off, what immediately when you heard it, you kind of went like, oh, like what was there like something that kind of caught your attention or that you forgot about? Maybe I said coworker, maybe I said relationship with yourself. Maybe I said, even if it was one we've already done before, like significant other, and you thought, oh, and that caught your attention again. Maybe I said in-laws or extended family or your family unit or your neighbors or your community. Like what caught your attention? I want you to pay attention to that because there's a reason that piqued your interest a little bit. And there's a reason that you had that response. Maybe it was really small. Maybe it didn't feel like something, but now that you're paying attention to it, you're like, oh, wait, yeah. Hold on. And now there's someone that's coming to mind, a person or a group or something like that. And I want you to just think about how can you use the rest of your time this summer, whatever that looks like, to engage and connect with that relationship. Because the beautiful thing about relationships is that they're all different. All of our lives are different, right? Like when I tell people about my family, sometimes they're like, whoa, That's a lot. It's like the Brady Bunch. And I'm like, it is. And it's wonderful. And it's great. And it's fun and lots of different things. I'm talking about my family, like growing up as a kid,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
lots of
know.
different things. Um, but there's lots of relationships there, like to nurture and to continue to build upon. There's a relationship, with myself that I have to spend time nurturing. And I think that's a relationship we forget about. Sometimes when I work with clients, Kirsten and I work with clients, we talk with, women that we coach, people that we coach, and they're like, relationship with myself.
Right.
What does that even mean? Right? Like, where do I start? How do I begin with that?
Mhm.
So if that's you and that's something that's drawing on your attention a little bit, like that's a great thing to get curious about. And, a good place to start if that's you is even considering or thinking about like, what do I need in my life? Like, what do I need more of? What do I need more space for myself? Just kind of getting in touch with yourself. And that sounds, I know, really vague and ambiguous and a little bit woo woo. Like I've got to go sit and sing Kumbaya. That's not what I mean. I just mean giving yourself the space that you deserve.
Yeah.
Just like you give the relationships in your life, your significant other, your kids, your friendships, your parents, your family members, your extended family, you give all of those relationships the space they need in order to thrive and the space they need and deserve because they're important to you. Sometimes, connecting with yourself just means giving yourself some space that you need. And that could be something as simple as doing something that you enjoy in your summer just for the sake of enjoying it. And that could be so small and simple. So throughout this summer, one thing that I really enjoy that's just for me, and this is the relationship I'm focusing on. This is when I asked myself this question, like, what relationship do I need to focus on? The one that came up for me was myself. So I'm going to share an example from that. And this is something I can do in the summer that I can't always do other times of year as easily. I'll say I could probably work at it, and that will be a goal of mine moving on. But one thing that I'm able to do in the summer a little bit more easily is get up a lot earlier. I did this morning. Get up a lot earlier, spend some time moving my body, and then journaling. When I move my body, I'm like awake. I feel good, and then drinking my coffee and journaling. And it's just space for me. There's no like necessarily like end game. There's no goal. There's no structure other than it makes me feel good and I'm connecting with myself and I feel great, and for you, that might include different things. Like for me, sometimes, there's certain songs I want to listen to, I might pray or read my Bible or different things. For everybody, it's a little bit different. And so that's just one example. And I say I can do that in the summer more easily because my husband's work schedule allows for that in the summer and it doesn't other times of year. And so for you, when you're thinking about your relationships, whether that is also true for you, you need space to connect with yourself, or you need space to connect in some of these other relationships. I think it can be really easy to think about how can we do that? How can I give attention to or space to some other people or myself? And what's one simple way that I can make that happen over the course of the next couple of days or the next couple of weeks? As we finish out this summer strong, because that's what we want to do. We want to finish out things well. And, depending on when you're listening to this, it's never too late. Kirsten shared this in a recent episode. Like, it is never too late to start something. And the beauty of this is like, this is a summer series, but like these strategies and these things that we're doing, we don't want to end them when summer ends. Like, this is a summer series that we want to take into the rest of our year and the rest of our life, because our aim and our goal is that you have a healthier and happier life. So, Kirsten, I want to pause here for a second. I've been seeing you like nod and smile. So I know you have some thoughts and you're just like waiting So I'm just going to ask, like, what's your response? What's landing for you? What's your takeaway?
Yeah. So I went through it in my mind when you said like what hit when you're describing each of those kind of relationships as you went through. And the two that hit for me, well, when you said work relationships, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. The amount of time we spend in work activities, with coworkers, in our work relationships for most adults is a lot of time. So when you think of like 24 hours, if you work full time, 8 hours a day, like we're spending more time in our work relationships or in our work than probably any other of the relationships we already discussed. Okay.
Yeah.
So that like the time really hit for me. And then I think about this with the relationship with yourself. It's like, who do you spend the most time with? Yourself.
Yeah.
And so that relationship also hit. And I love your challenge of creating space where you're doing something just for you. Yeah. I think that's great. Creating the space. I loved your process about not having it so outcome based or so prescriptive. That feels right for me right now as well. To kind of detach from the outcome or the results and just give myself time and space and allow myself to check in at that time too. And hopefully that will like bleed over into other areas of my life too. So I'm like checking in more often.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes we ask outside of ourselves, what do you think? What do you want? Where do you want to go to eat? What do you want for dinner? We're asking all these questions outward. And it's just kind of interesting. I don't remember one time in my entire life that I was like, well, this is kind of weird anyway to do. But if you really thought about it, like, Kiersten, I was curious. What are you feeling for dinner? Like, what sounds great to you? Or like, whatever it might be. But we spend the most time with ourselves. And as if you're a working adult, are going to spend the quantity of time so much in your work relationship. So those were the two that hit for me. I'm going to take our own advice, and they hit for a reason. And so I want to do something with that. Do something, baby steps, or sometimes leaps. Sometimes leaps or cannonballs are really super fun too. So tell us what you thought about this summer series. Tell us what you think and what you want to take with you. What were your takeaways from this episode? What hit for you? And we want to be in a relationship with you because we know the people that we spend time with are absolutely going to affect our perspective. It's going to affect our health. It's going to affect the way we eat. It's going to affect our bank accounts. These are all documented, researched things. And we're so thankful you committed this time to like show up for yourself and show up in community. We know your time is precious. And we are so thankful you chose to show up here. And I just want to thank you for that.
Yeah. We're pumped to have you. We're pumped that you're part of this community. And we want to just keep rocking out alongside of you, making every day a little bit healthier and a little bit happier. And we're cheering for you. So let's do it.
Woohoo! Check us out. healthierhappierhour.com is kind of where our hub is, but then also on YouTube, on Instagram. But we really want to get in the same room as you so we can coach, we can do a happy hour, we can hear what your specific things are for you.
Woo, woo, woo. We're cheering for you.